Hi, I'm Lorne Robinson, and I've been in the financial services industry now for almost 30 years. But we are right now in unprecedented times, and it honestly is very disheartening even to listen to the news. We are compelled to do so, though, in order to keep up with everything that's happening because things are changing so rapidly. Governments are having to have emergency meetings in order to deal with not only the health pandemic, but also what's happening in our stock markets and what stimulus needs to be provided to stabilize things. Yet, despite all that, it certainly seems like we are headed toward recession, or maybe we have already started into that. May I suggest to you that in the midst of this storm, it is possible to have a place of peace and contentment. It ultimately depends on what we are trusting in. If your sense of peace comes from the amount of money that you've accumulated, then it's understandable that at a time like this, you actually have less peace now than you did a month ago. Simply because if you've been invested, you likely have less money than you had a month ago. Well, here's some wisdom from Proverbs. The rich think of their wealth as a strong defense. They imagine it to be a wall of safety. This is the greatest risk around money. When we accumulate it, we begin to trust it. And when we lose it, we tend to lose our peace. Well, here's some more wisdom from Proverbs. It says, do not weary yourself to gain wealth. Cease from the consideration of it. When you set your eyes on it, it is gone. And I think a lot of people feel that these days. For wealth certainly makes itself wings like an eagle that flies toward the heavens. Even thinking about that, the eagle flying off toward the heavens. Why is that? I wonder if it's not even because the heavens are more a source of our wealth than we may realize. God actually is the one who gives us the power to create wealth. And there's another verse in the New Testament that says, no one can receive anything unless it has been given to him from heaven. Think about it. The very breath that we breathe really comes from God, let alone the wealth that we're speaking of. Well, portfolio loss has a way of creating fear naturally. We don't want to see loss in our portfolios. When we do, it causes us a certain level of anxiety. But what if we look at money in a different way? What if it's not ours to start with? What if it's really just what we have been given to steward, to manage? In the midst of this, we may feel even that we've been poor managers. But let me say that the reason all of this is happening is because of things that are completely beyond our control. The governments can't even control what's happening in the markets these days. So, how can we control it? What we can control is how we respond to all of this news. That's where we need to find peace. Well, many may ask, even in this situation, where's God in all this? Doesn't he care? Well, the disciples asked that question many, many years ago. I'll tell you this very story very quickly, how the disciples were on the water in a boat when a storm suddenly came up and they didn't know how to respond. They were in fear and panic. Jesus at this time was asleep on a pillow, resting. Interesting, they awakened him. And I heard a pastor friend of mine share this weekend that we are in unprecedented times and we need to awaken him. And let's do something unprecedented, which is call on God. In the midst of crisis, God is there to answer because he doesn't sleep or slumber. The Bible tells us that. But he needs to be awakened in our hearts. And many times the storm that needs to be calmed is within us. Circumstances, this may take a while working its way through the system, but in the midst of it, we can have a peace. So here's my challenge for you today. Do not fix your hope on the uncertainty of riches, but on God who richly provides. I hope you have a real good week this week and that you found this video encouraging.